We are live here on Wednesday, December 16, 2020. This is the Sprint Right Option podcast, the only 49ers podcast that's going to talk about the 49ers playoff chances in a semi-realistic way today. I am Andrew Pasquini. I got Jason Aponte next to me. Jason, how you doing? How was your past 5 days since we last talked on the podcast?
Amazing, man. So much has happened. So many thoughts, so many takes have been thrown out there. It's been an interesting week, man. We kind of figured that that's what it would be right after a loss like this. So, this week has been very interesting. That's the word that I will choose to use.
Yeah, I forgot the opening I was going to use, and that's why I pulled that one out. But the one I was going to use, because I remembered after the fact, is the only 49ers podcast that warned you about the Washington football game about 4 weeks ago. And we're here. That's what we're going to talk about today. The 49ers falling to the Washington football team. I'm trying to find the score, 23-15. And we have a million ways we could talk about this game. This was really I know I like to try and be Mr. Positive about, the playoffs and all that. Like, I feel like I'm the only one. I'm not even hanging on to playoff hopes. I'm just, as I said previously, I'm one of those people who, like, if there's a mathematical chance, I'm going to talk about it. I'm not going to sit here and be like, there's a chance, so I'm all in. No, like, this game was the one where, they lost, and all of a sudden, I just don't care as much. However, there still is a mathematical chance the 49ers make the playoffs. So we'll get into that. We will talk about this game first. And I said on Friday's show that if the Niners win, like, Nick Mullins is going to be my number one star, just because he probably did something right. The exact opposite happened. The 49ers lost, and it's a Nick Mullins loss. Like, I don't like to give quarterbacks wins and losses. I know a lot of people like that stat. It's really a pointless stat. Why does the quarterback get the win for being, he's not the only guy on the field? But this loss, I think it ends and begins with Nick Mullins.
Yeah, I mean, and I think that now that I've had a few days to settle on it and everything, right? Look, Nick Mullins, it is what it is. I don't want to crap on the guy, and I think you guys kind of know where I'm going with this. This team will never go anywhere without the quarterback play that they've been seeing. And that's, again, when we talk about good quarterback play, we're not even talking about a large increase. A 10% increase might be just enough to get this team some wins. Yeah. Unfortunately, that's just not happening right now. So, look, I think what Kyle Shanahan said, if it wasn't today or if it wasn't the day before, said that backups are backups for a reason. And when they're out there a bunch, they're exposed, and that's why they don't become starters, right? Like, and that's really true, honestly. When you have a good backup is when you don't know his name or anything like that. When you have a bad backup, you immediately like, oh my goodness, Blake Bortles is behind him. That's the sort of thing, so it's like, I mean, look, I didn't mean to take a shot at him. I know that Blake the Snake's your guy, but but yeah, it's no team can win when the defense gives up 9 points and the offense scores more for the other team. Like, that's no way for anybody to win. And, I hate to say that we've been saying it, every week, but turnovers. Yeah, that's exactly what happened. I really think that I'm more just upset with that second and third quarter. And I don't think that I'm really like using hyperbole here when I say that second and third quarter of offensive football was some of the worst offensive football I've ever seen in a long while. Like further back from 2017, like fumble, pick, false start, drop pass, play after play after play after play. It was putrid. And I tweeted out those numbers: 29 total yards in an offense, 61 total yards, more turnovers than first downs. Can't happen.
It really got to a point with this game because I engulf myself in games like a lot of people do. I got my TV behind me. That's where I watch the games, right? I also have a computer setup that you guys don't see because it's right in front of me, where I have a monitor, a laptop, and my PlayStation monitor. And I watch the games on the TV, no problem, right? Third quarter ends, I started playing Madden and I was kind of half paying attention to the 49ers on my main monitor. That's kind of the point it got at for me, where it's just like, I can do other things right now. Why am I wasting my time watching this product? And it's real bad because, when I decided to rewatch the game so I could kind of be ready for this podcast during the Monday night game.
Man, you missed game of the year.
I missed a very good football game in order to catch up on the 49ers, and boy, oh boy, do I regret that mistake.
There was it was some anxious moments in the stomach. I'm trying to see how many of these I can get out here without like actually alluding to it.
You know what the best part was is I firmly believe, I don't think he pooped. I think he did cramp up and he was running. He even said that like his legs started cramping up too. But whether or not he cramped or whether or not he pooped, the move of coming out with like the bandage on like where an IV would go is it's such a good idea, because then you're like, no, look, I like IV, I have bandage, I got an IV, like I was cramping. So good on Lamar Jackson.
Get out of here. You know what that was? That was his hey, look, when he was running, that's the doo-doo walk. And
it definitely was. It really was.
And the bandage is no, denied it, supplied it type, the kids rules, whatever. Like if like that's him denying it, knowing he's applied it. Sorry, go ahead. Let's
all right, anyways, there's your Monday Night Football breakdown. Yeah, so you already touched on it. The Niners defense gave up 9 points. They gave up 9 points. The offense, Mullins had a fumble that was returned by Chase Young, who had a very good game, and then he threw it. And I rewatched that interception, man. Like it was like a Madden interception where you think your guy's there, and as you throw it, the guy decides to run a different route. And the ball's just going to where he was.
Yeah.
And I accept it in Madden because Madden's not a very good football game. In the NFL, as a quarterback, you have to know what your receiver's doing. You can't throw it to a spot where they're going to be. And the interception was just god-awful. The play that I kind of gave up on the Nick Mullins train, it was Chase Young's sack. It was the one play that Trent Williams was out on, right? And Justin School came in. Chase Young dropped back into coverage. And so Skull, he looked to his right to see if he could assist, because in his head, like, Chase Young's dropping into coverage, I don't need to worry about him. The second he turns his body to go help, Chase Young breaks in and sacks Nick Mullins. And like, you can look at that tape and be like, what's Skull doing there? Skull's doing his job. Obviously, you could talk about him having a feel for the game and needs to at least check on Young before he turns the body or something like that.
That's not his job, though. Exactly.
My issue on the play is it wasn't like it was an instantaneous thing where like the snap happened, Skull realized he dropped back into coverage and turned his shoulders. Mullins had 4 seconds to throw the ball or move the pocket.
Yeah.
He just stood there, looked Chase Young in the eyes, and just watched him sack him. And that's what we're talking about in terms of quarterback mobility. The 49ers don't need a guy. We're not talking about a guy like Lamar Jackson. We're not talking about a guy like Patrick, I guess Mahomes too, guys like that can run Kyler Murray. That's the name I was thinking about. Guys who can gain 30 yards on one play. We're talking mobility in the sense of snap the ball 1 second, 2 second. Okay, I need to get out of this pocket, make something happen, and go move.
Yeah.
Nick Mullins doesn't have that. And that was the play where I was just like, okay, like this is indefensible at this point. Because the turnovers were cool, not cool. The turnovers are an issue, not cool. I hate the turnovers. The turnovers are an issue, but like there's other little things. I mean, I talked about how tough he played against the Bills. That didn't happen this game. Did not happen this game. So the Chase Young sack on that was the first play where I was like, Mullins isn't even watchable at this point.
Here's the thing, right? So your first point about the interception, clearly that's a guy who's trying to make a play at the end of the half, and him and Juice, they looked at each other, and when you have that rapport, like I'm not trying to compare. Aaron Rodgers and Devontae Adams, they lock eyes, they know exactly where the other one's going, and the ball comes out. He thought he knew what Kyle was about to do, and he just went the other way. So that's a bad one, right? The pick six, okay? I think, what you just talked about with that play about School turning his body and everything, I think that that's one of the plays in this game that I want to point to, and I want to give some people advice. I am not going to try to change your mind on how you feel whoever on this offensive line is playing, right? But I do want you to use the context and the nuance of quarterbacks getting the ball out first, how long someone's allowed to block, okay? Or should be asked to block, right? Especially against a front four, which nobody is talking about is probably the best in this game. The Steelers are probably going to get all of the love, right? And that's fair. But Washington has guys that nobody's talking about that are just as good, collectively, right? Mm-hmm. So, but when you guys are talking about who's been good, who's been bad on the offensive line, I want you to make sure that you pick your spots and you find that it's not the quarterback holding the ball too long, and actually not, because it goes both ways. You can't ask cover guys to cover for 5 seconds. You can't ask linemen to cover for 5 seconds, and you can't have the ball for that long. So whether you want to, I'm not trying to change your mind on whoever you thought played good or bad in this game. I just want you to add that to the way you're thinking when you're evaluating these guys, because it's so easy to just say, yeah, look at him being bad here. Okay, but look at the read. Was the throw supposed to be out there?
Twitter is definitely an echo chamber I've fallen for it. I think we've all fallen for it. So I'm not attacking any person. It's definitely like one person says one thing and that's my take now. And my thing is I guess for me on the offensive line, there are 3 spots as the offensive line is currently constructed that I would keep at this point. And I am keeping both tackles. I'm not going to be one of those who are like McGlinchey needs to go. Listen, is he the best right tackle in the game? No, he's not. But he's not as bad as some people are making him out to be. I think he's fine. I think maybe there's something to the weight thing. Maybe there's something there. Mm-hmm. I'm fine with McGlinchey being here next year. I think he'll be fine. The 2 positions I would really assess if I'm the 49ers is that center and that right guard. If I had to pick a configuration of the offensive line next year, I'm keeping Williams, obviously. I'm keeping Laken Tomlinson. I think there's something there that I do think there's something there that the communication between Williams and Tomlinson, I think it's a little off still. That's okay. That'll get worked out over time. And I think McGlinchey is fine. I would replace the center. Maybe not replace, but assess it. Because I'm not here calling for other people's jobs. That's not what I'm here to do. I would reassess the center and the right guard positions and kind of see what they can do. And maybe they think McKivitz can do something in the future. Who knows what that spot's going to be. But the tackles, I'm okay with them. McGlinchey, yes, can be better. But he still shows enough bright spots to me that there's still something there.
Can I cut you off real quick? Not to cut you off, but I mean, we're doing questions, right? We took questions from Twitter, and I think that your answer there is going to come up with one of them. So just hold on to that thought. And just reiterate it, because it's definitely been one of the questions about, what's a need, right? And I think that it goes hand in hand with what you just said. So yeah. I mean, it's look, I think, I don't want to get into a rant or anything like that too. And, I just think that it's important when you guys are evaluating everything is that you have to evaluate all the factors: roster, who's executing, the play calling, what's happening, right? So we saw a little bit of chatter around Kyle Shanahan's play calling. You guys know that I yelled and screamed somewhere else about it. Look, I'll just reiterate my stance. It's hard as a play caller to dip into anything more complicated when the quarterback you're asking to make simple reads and simple throws can't do that. And that's across the board. I'm not just talking about Nick Mullins. Okay. I'm sorry if I'm being, controversial here, but I'm talking about the offense that Kyle Shanahan has been forced to run since he's been here. And yes, I'm talking about 2019 as well. Mm-hmm. This is not the offense that he wants to run. Okay, guys, I think we need to come to grips with this. Okay. And I think that you need to understand that there's reason guys are backups. And there's reason why, guys don't get snaps, right? All the time that there's roster politics, we understand that sometimes guys are out of place because of other reasons that we can't put our finger on. But you see when some guys are just not as good, right? Look, drops are one thing, the false starts, all of these things, this is a team right now that is missing a lot of some of its parts. And, Debo going out in the first drive. So think about this as a play caller, right? Check this out. There was clearly a game plan to get Debo Samuel the ball, right? If that was the first play of the game, right? Now that bullet's gone. on the first play of the game. Boom. Now you're completely away from the script that you script. That first drive is always scripted. That first drive is off script now. What happened in that first drive? No score. Just the way it probably would have ended up in a score if Deebo Samuel's there, because that's just how it goes. So I just want to give that sort of context to the argument as well too. It's just like, guys, I understand we're all disappointed about where this team is because we all expected, what we expected coming off of last year. But I think that, I don't want to make excuses, but when your team is completely injured and not playing well, it's just, you kind of are who you are this year. So it's just like, toss this year up to what it is at this point. Like, I don't understand why it's so. I mean, it's frustrating because you look at games that they should have won, but realistically, look at this team and really say, you have to kind of be realistic with yourself about their real aspirations.
I'm going to ask this question in the most jerk way I possibly can, okay?
I love it.
You want to talk about play calling and the importance of play calling, not just on the idea, but also the personnel you have on the field. I'm going to ask this question. It's going to be a really mean question, and I apologize, 49er fans. The WASP play, the play, you know what play I'm talking about. It is a great play call, correct?
Yes.
If you replace Tyreek Hill with Sammy Watkins, does it work as well?
Probably not.
There you go. It's a perfect play call, but it's not going to get called if Sammy Watkins is Tyreek Hill.
That's not an option if Tyreek Hill's not playing. That's not a play that you're like, that you're not. Again, I'm sorry.
And that's the point I'm making is Shanahan's offense works. The Niners outgained the Washington football team by 150 yards. They put up 344 yards in that game, which I believe is right around their average. And it feels like a really bad game. I'm going to double check what their team average is. It felt like a really bad game. I don't have the yards per game up right now, but
here, Andrew, let me ask you this.
Yes.
If I would have told you before the game, Alex Smith is not going to complete this game, we're going to see Dwayne Haskins for a large portion of it, what would you have said?
It feels good, baby.
That was the reality, and that's what happened. Like that's the thing, right? Like you talk about, so again, if I gave you out of context ideas, 1, Alex Smith's not going to be playing this entire game, you're going to get Dwayne Haskins. 2, the defense is only going to score 9 points. I would have said the 49ers rolled to what I thought they were going to roll to because I didn't see how they could score on offense. Now add the pick 6, now add the fumble, now add every sack, now add drive killing drops, now add drive killing penalties. Like that's the thing. And that's the thing. All right, so I'm just going to say his name. The thing with McGlinchey is that the hold happened right then. The thing that I want to give you guys a little bit, look, I'm not defending Mike, right? Because obviously, look, he was beat off of the rip. Montez Sweat was past him. And I understand, I'm panicked. I have to hold. Jeff Wilson missed his chip too. And if Jeff Wilson chips him and he's engaged, the ref has a harder look at throwing that hold and then if you look at the result of the play was like literally the 49ers were about to be in the red zone with a chance to tie this game. Like backbreaker, like absolute backbreaker.
You have to adjust the expectations. The Washington football team has one of the best pass rushes in the game. They're not going to be perfect. But to my point about the personnel, Niners had 344 yards. Games they've had less than 344 yards. Miami, they had 259 total yards. They had 17 points in that game. 351, which about the same against Seattle. They scored 27. 337 against the Packers. They scored 17. And 281 against the Saints. They scored 13. The fact that they have 344 yards and are only getting 15 points, it shows the offense in a way is working. It's just the personnel's not there to make it work. Like I don't want to say it, but like this team with Jimmy Garoppolo is better than a 5-win team. Let's just be honest. Let's stop with this pretend like Jimmy Garoppolo isn't a good quarterback. Jimmy Garoppolo is a fine quarterback. He is not elite. He is not great. He might not even be good in some cases, but he is fine. He is good enough. We will get to Ayuk. Don't worry about it.
Oh yeah.
We will get to Ayuk. We're mainly talking about the issues right now. This team is fine with Garoppolo. When you have to call plays for Nick Mullins, who can't seem to make them work because of a lack of mobility, a lack of there was a play I sent it to you guys. It was I think in the second quarter, Kendrick Bourne found a seam, was open in the middle of the field, and yes, he had some pressure. I understand it. Laken Tomlinson didn't give him the 2.5 seconds. I sent the video of the ball coming out, and if you want to talk about tight spirals, don't watch that play. That ball came out so poorly and it died. Mm-hmm. He had Kendrick Bourne open. It's an easy 20-yard gain. He couldn't hit him. Kyle Shanahan diagrammed a player open. The execution wasn't there. So none of this is on Shanahan. And I wouldn't even say any of it's really on Mullins. Mullins is a backup quarterback. That's what he is.
And he's being exposed right now. He's just being exposed right now. That's it, man. And that's why he's a backup quarterback, an undrafted free agent. See, look, here's another thing that I'll say, because I am really tired of talking quarterbacks on the timeline. I really am, guys. We've got to give it a rest. Like, come on, please. I think everything that needs to be said has been said. And now that we know that Jimmy Garoppolo is probably not coming back, what more are you going to add to this conversation that hasn't already been said? But undrafted free agent, you know, it's hard to expect all of these things, right? And then to your point about the plays, right? The one example that I posted, you know, and sarcasm doesn't come through on Twitter. But I said, yeah, you guys are right. You convinced me. Kyle's calling the wrong plays. And it was, it was cover 3, right? Yep. Everybody drops into there. And where do you beat zone? You beat it in the seams. Charlie Warner's on the right, open. Brandon Ayuk's open on the left. Nick Mullins never even looks a different way. So the single high safety, you know what? Somebody jumped in my DMs because they said the same thing too. I'm tired of talking quarterbacks, but I want to show you something. If I'm playing single high and the quarterback is looking straight at the read, you love that. You know why? You don't have to do any diagnosing. He's literally looking at it, right? But if you even hint at your body moving the other way, you give him that half a step, and if you have the arm strength to rip that seam throw to Brandon Ayuk, that's a touchdown. Again, that's not on Kyle Shanahan that he can't make that throw. He called the right play on the right coverage, and the quarterback couldn't execute. I'm not trying to pile on Nick Mullins. I am just trying to give you the facts. And when you want to talk about Kyle Shanahan, just make sure you remember these things. I understand you want to nitpick 1 or 2 plays. Nitpicking is not my thing because you have to talk about how every single play call got you to that play. That's a larger discussion that people don't want to have. But when it comes to that, the plays were there, and that's the problem that I have. If the plays weren't there, Washington has a great defense. A great defense. If the plays weren't there and they were completely covered, then you just got to sit there and say, hey, listen, man, they play better than us. But when you watch the film and you see it all out there, plenty of throws, every single passing concept has some sort of emergency valve, and Nick Mullins never gets to it, even if he knows where it's at. And that's the issue, I think. I'm sorry. Yeah.
A good example of what you're talking about, of the shoulder thing as well, just to kind of look off, is the first game against the Rams in Santa Clara. It was their first touchdown of the game. They were at the 6-yard line. Debo ran a little curl route right at the end zone line, and Bourne was next to him, and he ran an out route along the goal line. Garoppolo snaps it. The second Bourne breaks on the out route, Garoppolo just kind of gives it a little like shoulder fake. He gets the safety or the linebacker, whoever is there, to bite, and Debo's wide open right there, and he hits it. That's what we're talking about. Like something as simple as like a shoulder. And once again, this season is on nobody but the injuries. This isn't Nick Mullins' fault. I am sorry if your personal, not your Jason, but the collective expectation was Nick Mullins was going to step in and this offense wasn't going to miss a beat. Nick Mullins a backup. He shouldn't be starting 8 games in a season ever. Plain and simple. The only reason he has is the injuries, right? So there's nothing that this team could have done other than not get hurt. And sometimes there's just nothing you can do. It's not even a training staff issue to me. Because look at all the injuries. Like, what's the training staff going to do? What's the training staff going to do about Bosa tearing his ACL and Garoppolo getting rolled up over? Like, they can't like make them out of titanium and make them perfect. So it's really like, I don't even want to get mad at Mullins for this season. It's such a waste of my time to focus on any individual piece other than the injuries. That's my thing. So do we have any final negatives we want to get out and we could wipe the palate clean? Because there were a few good things I want to talk about in this game.
Yeah, I mean, we should talk about the entire defense playing well. I've got some things to say about that, but as far as the negatives go, man, it's just, I'm tired of the lack of execution, right? It's one thing to not be better than anybody. It's a whole other thing to shoot yourself in the foot. Again, teams teams come in, they're just better than you sometimes, right? Especially in the state that this team is in. But to needlessly toss games away because of interceptions and fumbles and false starts and missed assignments and drops, that's the stuff that like will make you tear your hair out. Play as hard as you can and play as well as you can, and whatever the result's going to be is whatever the result's going to be, because that's this league. But man, watching this is not fun. This offense has not been fun to watch all year, man. And I see all the plays that Kyle is dialing up. I see exactly the vision, and it's so frustrating. If I'm frustrated, you know what? Let's play a drinking game. Let's do a cut up of every time Kyle Shanahan throws his hands up or throws his hands down, and we're gonna be done by in about 10 minutes. So it's like, it's just frustrating. Yeah, like this game like kind of just puts a cap on the season for me. Especially just how we should evaluate it, just because of it is what it is at this point. No point in getting upset. It's just all about where do we go from here and what the team's aspirations are going into next year at this point.
Yeah, and the other part is like the people who want to bench Mullins. CJ, we know what CJ Beathard is. He's not going to be better. So the Niners are still rolling out with the best they have. Anyways, we're past that point. Let's talk about the positives. Brandon Ayuk is,
oh my goodness,
boy, oh boy, did they hit that pick? How
long can we talk about Brandon Ayuk? Can we talk about him a ton, like a lot?
So subtle brag. I was on, my radio hits I did yesterday.
Yep.
And he goes. So what do you think about the Niners quarterback situation for 2021? And I go, man, if you want, I could talk for the next hour and a half about this. I don't think you want me on that long. And so, yeah, the same thing with Ayuk. 10 receptions on 16 targets, 119 yards, no touchdowns, unfortunately.
Wait. You said 16 targets, right? And he had how much?
10 receptions, 119 yards.
Should have had 3,000 yards.
Yes, he becomes the first 49er rookie receiver to have 10 receptions in a game since, I don't know if you've heard this name, really, really deep. Jerry Rice, a fairly unknown player.
Oh, the guy from Dancing with the Stars, right?
Yeah, him. Yeah, he went to Mississippi Valley State, and it's crazy because like, same consistency, right? Like you have to go to good colleges to be an good NFL player, right?
All right. Well, see, but now you're opening up another can of worms. Just stay on. Just stay on.
I was making a joke. That was 100% a joke. We said it 2 months ago, man. The Niners have a number one receiver. Debo is great. Nothing taken away from Debo. Yep. Brandon Ayuk just has it, whatever it is.
Yeah, and that's the thing, right? You can't quantify it, right? It's just there. And that's been my point about Ayuk. Day one, I'm the man. That's it. You can't cover me. I don't care who it is. James Bradbury, cool. Good luck. Nice try. Whoever it is. Week after week, he just finds ways to get open. Him getting away from Trey White last week, I was like, oh my goodness, look at this guy. And then when I watched this game, for him to have that catch over the middle where the guy basically tackled him before the ball got there, for him to be missed on that seam throw, which is an easy touchdown if that ball just gets in over the linebacker on time. Again, wide receivers can only do one thing, is get themselves open, but he's getting himself open against everybody. And I don't think, and this is, again, all right, so maybe I'll get into my hot take bag, because I'm not one of these guys, yes, but I think that even with this small sample size, he's the best receiver that the 49ers have had since Terrell Owens. Let's argue.
I mean, you got to
no joke answers either in the comments either. No, no AJ Jenkins or DeAndre Smelter jokes. None of those.
You said that, and I was literally going to lead up to an AJ Jenkins joke. I mean, off the top of my head, I would put Anquan. Obviously, Anquan Bolden's not Terrell Owens.
That's what. So that one doesn't count. I'm talking about guys, our guys that we drafted.
Oh, guys we drafted. That eliminates Trevor Craycraft.
See, but somehow I just told you not to do it, and somehow you still did it.
You know me, Jason.
Yes,
you know who I am.
I do. And that's why you're the man.
Yeah, Crabtree wasn't great. Crabtree was a fine Niner. He was a fine Niner.
A good one.
He was never like, because when I think of a number one receiver, I don't necessarily mean like number one receiver on the team.
Andrew, this is a good one though, right here.
Brandon Lloyd's up there. Yes,
that's a really good one. I think that one slept on a little bit.
Brandon Lloyd's definitely slept on. When I talk number one receiver, I don't mean number one receiver on a team. I mean in terms of like a player that like he goes to a new team and he's the number one receiver. Like there's only a handful of number one guys. And like I'm talking Julio Jones. I'm talking like number one receivers. And Ayuk's going to get there. He's not quite there. He's definitely the number one receiver on the 49ers, but in terms of league wide, he's not quite there. Brandon Ayuk's going to get there though. He is so good. The Niners hit on this pick. You can take your Jerry Judys, your Henry Ruggs, your CeeDee Lambs.
Yo, but Justin Jefferson's really good.
You know what? I'm even going to throw his name in there. He's having a very good year, and he's the best receiver as of right this second. But give me Ayuk in 5 years over Justin Jefferson in 5 years.
Yeah,
because it's just what he's doing with the quarterback. Justin Jefferson's had a number one quarterback all year. Brandon Ayuk is dealing with this with Nick Mullins, a backup. So it's Ayuk's going to be something, and paired off with Deebo Samuel, it's just going to be such a good combo. I'm excited. I am very excited for this team, for Ayuk.
See, I said no joke ones, Callie. Arna's battle, I knew that was coming. But
JJ Stokes.
JJ Stokes, I mean, I had high hopes for him too. You know, I'm old enough to remember that. Remember, I'm really old. That's a whole other story.
I remember JJ Stokes. I used him in NFL Game Day 98 on the PC.
Oh my God.
Sports.
How old were you in 1998, Andrew?
I was born in 92, so 5 and 6.
We'll move on because I don't want to tell you how old I was. Anyway, when it comes to what the heck were we talking about? Oh, so number one receiver. So Brandon Ayuk, man. Again, like even last year, right? You know, we love Deebo Samuel and everything, and I still am I'm on the side of the fact that Deebo Samuel is still being underutilized and is so much more than what he's being used. And we would discuss him in a different way if this team chose to use him in a different way, as opposed to using him because of the limitations of the offense. Okay. But Ayuk, you know, it took Deebo a little while to get going, like a few weeks before, you know, Ayuk showed up and he's just, I'm the guy. I'm the man. Like, and again, that goes back to the it thing. And I think that what we're talking about when we talk about like number one guys who can just get open. Odell Beckham comes to mind, you know, guys like that, you know, like that are just open and they're just, you know, they're hard. So it's a slam dunk. If there is a silver lining, it is the fact that I feel confident that the 49ers have their wide receiver one for many years to come. And Javon Kinlaw is coming along very nicely right now. So, I mean, our rookies right now, I'm very happy. Unfortunately, we found out that today Colton McKivitz is going to be on COVID list. So, you know, I was really looking forward to seeing him play because we have to figure out what we have with this team now. And that goes hand in hand with this loss, right? Like, I think that should be the attitude going forward. If you're talking about things we know, I think we need to start diving into the uncertain. And we need to figure out what is on this team, who's here to stay, who's here to go. And I think that's what should be the goal. But we all know that that's not going to be – it sounds easy coming from my mouth, but we understand that that's not how it works.
Do you want to know what the opposite of Shanahan's doghouse is?
What is that?
Being put out there as the punt returner in a situation where we're looking for a big play.
Oof.
And that's what Brandon Ayuk had.
Yeah.
Right, like Ayuk has not been used as a punt returner too much this year. It's been Trent Taylor, Richie James, but at the end of that game where the Niners needed a return, Ayuk was the one back there. Yeah, and that too. Good point about Justin Jefferson. Thielen
sees the coverage. They roll the coverage his way. But yeah, still Justin Jefferson is doing things that I thought that he couldn't do because he was a slot guy in LSU, and I think that everybody kind of had him pegged as that. And I'm starting to see. I mean, start to see. You see it. I mean, but that's beside the point. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
So Ayuk, like just getting the trust of being the guy, like we need a big play. You're going to go back and punt return. That's a good point. Ayuk is the best since Deebo. That's a good one. So I'm happy with Ayuk. The other side I'm happy with is the defense. The defense is good, man.
Yeah, man.
In a normal year and not and I'm saying a normal year that has nothing to do with COVID. In a normal year where there isn't a player who almost died because of a leg injury, Jason Verrett's your comeback player of the year.
Yeah.
It's
so crazy how Alex Smith threw an interception to him. Sorry.
Yeah, well, I think I tweeted that. I think the comeback player of the year throws an interception to the second comeback player of the year. He had an interception. Deion Jordan, what's happened to him the past 2 weeks? He's been pretty good.
Arizona native. He's in his hometown.
Jordan Willis with another sack.
Yeah,
their pieces are so good, and it's really the scheme. I there's really not much I could say. The defense gave up 9 points and they still lost, man.
Yeah, I mean, we're back to negatives, but yeah, I mean, that's the overall arcing, again, like if I told you all these things, 9 points, how much did, the team outgained them, Alex Smith going down, you would have said, man, they really tattooed that football team, and just didn't happen. That's not how this one worked out. But yeah, the defense was great, man. And I think that some stuff that I saw on film too, that I kind of wanted to highlight, not even sure if I'm bringing up a point, but I just wanted to point it out, I guess. The 49ers are trying their best right now to hide Richard Sherman a little bit in man-on-man. And what I mean by that is I saw them come out on a dime on the first drive on third down, and they left Ahkello Witherspoon. That's right, the same Ahkello Witherspoon. He was actually out there on the outside, and Sherman actually kind of fell back into strong safety, and it was a straight-up man concept. So it was a two-man high. So I just thought that was interesting, a little bit of, kind of, again, you have to scheme around your liabilities. You have to scheme around, not liabilities. You have to scheme around your restrictions, right? I'm not going to talk about Richard Sherman like that. I'm taking that all the way back. He's not a liability, right? Like this is just his restriction right now. So it's the same thing with Kyle. Kyle can only do what he's given. Same thing with Salah, and they're doing the best they can. I thought the both of them really coached their ass off. For anybody who says that we weren't coached well in this game, I'm not certain what else needs to be said. So.
Yeah, really the stuff on the defense, we say it every week. We don't need to dive in too much. So do you want to go 3 stars? We can talk what I want to talk about. You saw what I posted on Twitter.
Yep.
And then we'll take our questions that we had. So do you want to start with your 3rd star? Yeah.
Jason Verrett, man. Look, wasn't really as crazy of a job this week, even though I understand Terry McLaurin, is a great receiver. But continuing to play solid, gets the interception in this game, and we knew the limitations with the quarterback, but I just wanted to highlight him because he's just having such a great year. And I just want him to, to keep the good vibes going around him and everything as well. Like he may have a play or two where things get a little rough, but overall, man, like what else can you say about this guy?
Yeah, my 3rd star is going to be Tabor Pepper.
Nice.
The down at the goal line, that was a sick play.
Yeah, man. I mean, listen. We joke, right? Because we see Tabor on Twitter and how he is. That's absolutely true, though. To have that down at the 1 for him to be hustling down, like that's not even a joke. It's not a meme or anything like that. You're absolutely right, Andrew. That was a huge play.
He's a long snapper. His job isn't to shoot down the line the second he has to snap it, block, and then get down there. For him to get down there, that's just an impressive play. And I just feel like we're probably going to have most of the same 3 stars. So I want to throw Tabor Pepper out there. Special teams does make a difference, and they actually almost turned it into something because that was the drive that Haskins threw the interception to Ward that I forgot what it got called back for.
It got called back because it hit the ground.
Yeah, it hit the ground. So, let's just say hypothetically that ball gets picked off. The Niners are starting with the ball down 8 points in a position to tie the game. So, even in that sense, so in the hypothetical world, yes, I will take Tabor Pepper on that play as my 3rd star.
Whew. Yeah, way to go, Andrew. I mean, that's something that I missed. But I think that like I said, I think it's because how Tabor is, and we all interact with him, and he's a fun guy. But I think you hit the nail on the head, man. That play, those little plays like that. Those little plays are the ones that wins games. And if the 49ers win that game, they look at that play a lot differently, because again, it's all a cascading effect, or it's all a butterfly effect, right? You get that interception and then boom, you're in the red zone. You don't even have to drive now, and now the defense is a little shell shocked because they have to just jump right on the field right off of there, so all those things are so true, man. You really in your endless bag today, man. I really like that.
I spent a lot of time breaking down this guy. I very much have gotten it. It's probably the ADHD in me, but I get into a point where I'm like, I'm going to be really ready for the show today. And I watched the 45-minute condensed game. I even Zoom called my friend to go over tape. So I would do it. I held myself accountable. I'm locked in. I'm ready.
So I'm talking about, that's why you're my wartime consigliere. Do you get that part?
And I don't care if I'm wearing a Bears hat while doing it.
Oh man.
My 2nd star, I'm going to go Verrett. Same reasons for you.
Yeah.
I don't need to divulge into it, man. What he's done is amazing. That interception was sick. He's just been so good. I mean, I think he's played 8 games the past 6 years or something like that. It was something wild like that, and he's played 11 this season. Like what he's done this year is amazing.
Yeah, man. I'm going to take an obvious one too, because we already know who our 1 star is. And I think that, we can still gush over him a little bit more, but my second star. Yeah. Damn it. He's still got the joke in. All right. Mine is Trent Williams, man.
Okay.
First play of the game, obviously we understand what happened with Debo, but did you guys see him leave his feet to obliterate that poor defender who was trying to come down? Like, bring him back, sign him immediately, give him Levi Stadium, whatever. I don't care. Trent Williams needs to be back next year, and I don't care if I keep on using him as one of my stars. It's because every week he is one of the stars. So,
yeah, and my number 1 star, Jason, probably your number 1 star, Brandon Ayuk. Woo, the big reveal. He's the number 1 star. He gets a shirt that hasn't been made yet. Man, We should do that. We should make a shirt and just like send it to the Niners randomly and just be like, have them be like, what is this? Why am I getting definitely do that?
Thrown in the trash. They're just going to be like, we're not allowing this. This is outdoor contraband.
No. So yeah, Brandon Ayuk, number 1 star. I mean, I went over the numbers. He's a special player.
Yeah,
that's really what it could be broken down to. Yeah, and like, I think I've said this story on the podcast before. So I was in the boat of them taking Jerry Jeudy. I thought Jerry Jeudy was the pick. I thought he was the guy. They take Kinlaw, Niners, first round, quote unquote, ends. They trade back in and they take Ayuk. And my instant reaction was, I don't know who Ayuk is. I didn't watch tape on him. I really didn't pay attention to him. But if Kyle Shanahan is moving into the first round, Brandon Ayuk's going to be a good player. And this is why they move back into the first round to get him.
Yeah. And I mean, for all the talk about not being able to evaluate people, well, here's one, put this one in the win list for Kyle, man, because he really nailed this one out of the park, man. And then, yeah, I think you were right, man. Like, I think, for me, like, I had to take a hard look at myself because I remember where I firmly stood on the discussion. Like, all right, I'm just going to be full disclosure. I wanted Henry Ruggs. Because I thought that he was going to add something to this offense that was lacking, which was somebody who can take slants to the house like Tyreek Hill and give someone that you completely need to fear over the top, which would allow everything else to open up for Jimmy underneath. I had these thoughts. I've written about it, that I wanted Henry Ruggs, not as the best player, but as the best possible fit for the 49ers, right? Yeah, I think I got that wrong. Like, I definitely think I got that wrong, like, for sure. Like, I think, again, when we talk about Ayuk, maybe you can make an argument about one of these guys being more talented. But again, fit, Ayuk is got a little bit more and that it in him. And like, to be doing this with the quarterback play that he's had from all 3 quarterbacks, let's just keep it blunt. That's really what you should hold your hat on. And, even during blowout losses, I continuously watch the film over and over because I just enjoy watching Brandon Ayuk run routes on whoever is trying to cover him, the poor soul.
Yeah, he's just so good, and I'm really excited to get, even if it's Garoppolo, just a quarterback who can get him the ball better. He's just not being, he could be better. Just
put the ball in places. Put the ball in places where he can catch it and run. Like, there's so many of these slants that he makes these catches on, but if they're in front of him and he's able to catch that and keep going in stride, he's about to outrun people. Like, don't let his 40 speed, pull you back from his playing speed. It's 2 different things.
All right. Are you ready to talk about the picture I posted advertising this episode?
Yes. We should keep it. Let's keep it to at least 50 minutes, and then we have a lot of questions.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. We got some questions we got to get to. There's a path. There's still a path for the 49ers to make the playoff.
Why are you doing this?
I said it earlier, man. If there's a mathematical chance, I'm talking about it.
Okay.
I'm talking about it. So the Niners can still make the playoffs at 8-8. And actually, I just clicked a button, and Arizona can still win a game, and the Niners make the playoffs.
How's that possible?
I don't know. I clicked buttons, and I let the Cardinals beat the Eagles. Playoff machine's wild, man. So in the scenario I have right now, I am looking at the one I posted on the Twitter machine. I'm going to try and only stay to the relevant games. Take out your pen and paper, kiddos, because it's going to be a wild ride. And don't ask me to repeat this. Please don't. Oh my God, they can lose to the Cowboys too and still make it. Okay, I'm just going to stick with the one that I posted.
Hold on. Guys who are looking for a quarterback who are listening, plug your ears. Go, Andrew.
All right, here we go. The Niners, so this is week 15. The Niners beat the Cowboys. The Vikings beat the Bears. The Eagles beat the Cardinals, and I even changed this to where the Cardinals beat the Eagles, and it holds. But we'll just stick with this. The Eagles beat the Cardinals, okay? So, boom. That's what needs to happen in Week 15. Week 16, the Vikings need to lose to the Saints, which should happen. The 49ers obviously need to beat the Cardinals. The Buccaneers beat the Lions. I know this is really good radio. I apologize for this. The Bears, I have the Bears beating the Jaguars. I don't know why I have that, but the Niners are still in the playoffs. And eyeballing everything else, that's fine. So that's what has to happen in Week 16. And in Week 17, the 49ers need to beat the Seahawks. The Rams need to beat the Cardinals. Even though if the Cardinals lose against the Eagles, that game won't matter. The Lions need to beat the Vikings. This is the key one. The Packers would have to beat the Bears. If the Bears beat the Packers in this scenario, the Bears jump in. And I think that's the last one. I don't know, man. There's even more possibilities because I just clicked a button and the Niners at 7-9 made the playoffs. So there's a lot of things that can still happen. I'm going to talk about it as long as it's a mathematical possibility. But listen, I'm not sitting here and trying to blow smoke up your ass and say, hey, the 49ers are making the playoffs. I'm just sitting here and telling you there's still a path. It's very unlikely because I don't think the Niners are winning two more games. I think they're going to beat the Cowboys, but I don't see them beating the Cardinals and Seahawks, so it's not going to happen most likely, but there's a path there. So I guess that's the end of that segment unless you have something you want to say.
No, I'm glad you put all that work in, honestly, and I was just joking. Like, honestly, you're right. You know, you should at least still talk about that. Regardless of what we want, those are all still things that are possible, and you still have to consider them, and stranger things have happened.
They made a whole TV show about that.
Oh, wow.
What is it, the 5 stages of grief? Yeah. My 5 stages of me denying the Niners not making the playoffs is going on the playoff machine and just being like, okay, what can happen? What can happen? That's my first step of like, they're probably not making the playoffs.
Yeah.
But there's a possibility. And obviously it's not the worst possibility because I did have a scenario where the Niners lose one of the 3 games.
Right.
So it's not a non-zero, and I mean, I guess I could pull up the 538 number because we've been using that the past few weeks. I think, what was it at? Was it 20% last week?
Yeah, it's a lot lower now.
It's probably a lot lower, but I could tell you exactly what it is when my computer loads. It's at 9%. So
you're telling me there's a chance.
There's a non-zero chance. I'm going to talk about it. Jason, do you want to go over some questions?
Yeah, for sure. So, shout out to everybody on Twitter who sent questions. You know, for the most part, they were largely serious. I expected some smart ones, and I got them, and we laugh about them. But these are going to be serious questions. Usually we take them here, but I like the idea of having questions so we can, just be more organized a little bit, right? Yeah. So, first question from our guy, Hugh Tomasello, on Twitter. Who's going to be the team's starting center week 1 of the 2021 season? That is a great question, Hugh. The 49ers center is not on this team for next year. That's what I'll say. Andrew?
I don't know centers enough to answer this question, so I'm going to say Alex Mack because that's the name I saw in the comments. Yeah, I listen, man. I'm lying to you if I try and talk anything about the center position. I don't know enough to honestly answer that question at this point. But let's table that question for the offseason because we're going to need content in the offseason. And I will look. You know what? Who asked that question?
That was Hugh, our guy Hugh from
Hugh.
Yeah.
Hugh, I will personally research an answer to that question for you in an upcoming episode. Just for you.
That's it. All right. Another question from Niner Rayo, our guy, friend of the pod. Does the running back room need an upgrade because Mostert's body might not be able to handle RB1 touches? So what he's talking about is Mostert popped up on the injury report, did not practice today, right? And even was a little gimpy during the game, which was always a concern, right? That's why they used him sparingly as the home run hitter, right?
Yes.
Andrew, I'll let you go first, and then I'll give my thoughts.
I am very fine with a running back room that features Raheem Mostert, Jeff Wilson, and a drafted running back. And maybe, you know what? Let's get crazy. What if ETN slips to the second round or something like that, right? Which is a full possibility. Running backs aren't high priority as much anymore. I think the last time we saw a running back get drafted super high was probably Saquon. Other than that, they usually drop. So, like, if you can get a Travis Etienne or a Najee Harris type player in the second round, Sure, why not? But I think majority of the Niners running back room is already here. I think Jeff Wilson's going to be a guy. I think Raheem Mostert. I think they're going to move on from McKinnon. I think they're going to move on from Coleman. So if you can give me Mostert, Wilson, and then a running back maybe in the second round, I'm sure they have way more priorities than running back in the second round. But even a later round drafted running back that fits the scheme, I'm fine with it.
So I'm going to throw a name out there because I want to get spicy, right? That was a well thought out, level headed take, right? Like that's exactly.
I'm going to see if I guess your name. So say your name, and I'm going to see if I'm right.
My name is going to be Aaron Jones. To be added to the room, right? So I agree with you. I'm in lock and step with you about Mostert and Wilson, right? Please don't ask me about contract with this and Aaron Jones. This is just me dreaming and thinking out loud. Hall of Famer, free agent. Maybe be a Hall of Famer. I guess that just goes to speak of how much I love the guy or whatever, because I am a big fan of his. But free agent, will command some money and things like that. But fits the scheme. I think he would instantly come to this team, and this is no slight to Raheem Mostert, be the best back on this team. Because one, he has familiarity with the scheme, being with Matt LaFleur. Two, his pass catching chops are a lot better than anybody on this team. And three, he's shifty, man. Like he runs hard, but he actually can shake tackles, man. The reason that I feel like people are down on Aaron Jones is because there was this stupid thing that LaFleur and McCarthy were doing, was that they were giving Jamal Williams touches, I guess trying to keep Aaron Jones from injuring himself. But anybody with two eyeballs, whoever watched Aaron Jones and Jamal Williams play, understood that there was a talent gap. And I think that Aaron Jones would be such a weapon here, man. And he, look, for everything that we just talked about, injuries, he's a little nicked up here and there. For the most part, he's around, man. He lost 6 games when he first came into the league to a PED, but I would love to add Aaron Jones to this lineup with those guys, and you mix them in that way, it becomes almost indefensible what you can do with those guys.
I was hoping the name you were going to say was Matt Breida, but
no, that's done. All right. Here's another question from Reds as Be Real 29. I guess I said that right. Brian B. All right. Here's one more important. Here's one. What's more important in the draft? O-line help or secondary edge rusher? This is a great one. This wouldn't be a first round need, I don't think, unless certified stamped Andrew Pasquini rookie coming into this league, Penei Sewell, falls somehow. But I think this is a really good question, man, because I think with everything that we just talked about with O-line, yes, interior O-line is going to be a concern, especially because someone just asked about the center. And we said that the center's not on this roster. Is the center a rookie? Is the center someone from from somewhere else? We don't know. But I'll let you start, just to give that little bit of context there.
I'm going to say edge rusher. Okay. Just because they've kind of already put the pieces in. Colton McKivitz was essentially that offensive line pick they made last year, right? So they've kind of already had the pieces there. They've already have it established. And I think if they're going to listen, man, I know I kind of just half-assed said that, but Alex Mack would make a lot of sense. He was the center in Atlanta. I don't think they're going to address center in the draft if they can get a guy like Alex Mack. I think edge rush is going to be important because I think they're going to want to start developing some guys just in case you have to break the glass of emergency again, right? In case somebody gets hurt. I think the edge rush development is going to be key. So I don't think Javi told me, and I kind of agree with him, this draft isn't edge rush heavy. Gregory Rousseau is going to be the number one name. And I've actually watched tape on Gregory Rousseau, and his best move is trying to run through offensive linemen. And with his size, I don't think that's going to work as well in the NFL. So I think there might be some good late round picks at edge rush that the Niners could try and build up. So if I had to pick between a secondary edge rush or offensive line in the draft for depth, I'm going to go edge rush.
Yeah, you kind of stole mine. Yeah, that's what I would have said too. Like, I understand that offensive line is definitely a need, but you have to think about it like this, right? So I think we all kind of just understand that Robert Saleh is not going to be here next year, right? So, you could have a mindset of, oh, well, the scheme's going to change. They don't value edge rusher, but everybody uses edge rusher. And I think that anybody that they bring in here, whether it's going to be a promotion to D'Amico Ryans or, someone else from the outside, is going to try to keep what they have here, right? You fit your scheme to the personnel. You already have Nick Bosa. You already have guys that can do half of your job for you because they're in the backfield so quickly. I think the edge rusher is definitely what would get this defense back. What am I talking about back? They're already a top 10 unit. I'm talking about, but I'm talking about like, this is how the the defense really is meant to dominate. They're top 10 based on numbers, but they're nowhere near as dominant. You guys know what I'm talking about.
Yeah, and edge rusher is turning almost into the quarterback of the defense. You're really starting to see people draft high on edge rushers to try and turn their franchise around. I mean, I guess an example would be, I don't know, that guy Nick Bosa. They added him and got healthy, and they were all of a sudden a Super Bowl team. He gets hurt again, it's done. So I really think teams are trying to get the edge position right, which is why we're seeing teams draft them higher and higher every year. I mean, you look at the draft in 2018-19, Bosa's year. I mean, you had Bosa, Josh Allen, Montez Sweat, guys like that at the top. Rashawn Gary, I know obviously he's not great, but he was still a top 16 pick. Edge rush is just as important not just as important, but almost as important as quarterback is in the draft nowadays.
Yeah, for sure. And I agree with all of those points. So we have another question from Vince Felice. Again, he's in our comments right now, so I hope he's watching. So out of all of our free agents, you can only bring back 4.
Oh, my goodness.
Which ones are you bringing back?
So first of all, shout out Vince for commenting for running back room, Frank Gore Jr.
Frank Gore Jr., yeah, I love it.
In the chat right there. So you're asking me to pick 10% of the free agents the 49ers have. The 49ers, I'm looking at the list, have 40 free agents.
Yeah.
I could spend 5 minutes listing them all, but it's a lot. So I'm just going to kind of go over the highlights. I don't want to list all 40. Williams, Sherman, Thomas, Tart, Juszczyk, Robbie Gould, but he's on a club option. They can bring him back. Tevin Coleman, Bourne, K'Wan Williams, most important name on this list, Tom Compton, Ronald Blair, Ben Garland, Hyder, Ansah, McKinnon. I'm just listing them all at this point. Jordan Reed's going to be there. Witherspoon, Grasu, Jamar Taylor, Deion Jordan. Listen, the point is a lot of players are on this list.
You know why I'm looking at you like this, right?
I know.
Okay. Go. Pick your 4.
My 4, Trent Williams.
Yep.
Kyle Juszczyk.
Yep.
K'Wan Williams.
Yep.
And Richard Sherman.
Wrong. The 4th one is different.
Okay.
Kerry Hyder.
Okay, so I was going to cheat and say Kerry Hyder's not going to be super expensive, maybe. So I'm going to just slide him as my 5th option.
Okay. Well, but we're pretty much talking stuff.
If we're talking the 4 I would bring back, obviously mine, there's going to be a lot of cap space issues. But if cap space is a thing, which obviously it is, I would slide Sherman out and probably bring back Hyder because he's not going to be at the price tag as Sherman.
Okay. All right. So we got another question. We'll take 2 more, and then, we're already getting close to an hour. So Goated 49ers season on Twitter asked, is Ayuk a more important piece to the offense than Debo? That's a great question. It really is. I think I'm going to preface what I say by it depends on who the quarterback is. As of right now, the state that the offense is in right now, Debo's more important because of the extension of the run game stuff, all that stuff. With a real quarterback, I mean, I don't want to say a real quarterback. A quarterback who's not limited. I hate saying stuff like that, right? I catch myself saying it.
Yeah.
With a quarterback not as limited, it's probably Ayuk. Because he does things down the field that I'm not certain that Debo can do, all the way. I mean, I've seen him run routes down there, and I'm telling you right now that he can. I'm just telling you that I've seen him get open against the best of the best. And I think with a quarterback who's more adept at throwing the ball down the field, Ayuk would end up being more important to this offense.
What was the exact wording on the question again?
Is Ayuk a more important piece to the offense than Debo Samuel? So it's yes or no.
I'm going to say no.
Okay.
Because I think, and maybe this is just a cop-out, I think they're equally important. And I think the key is they if they're on the field together, this offense is totally different. With a quarterback who, is better than the current situation, I think they're equally as important as each other. I think they're going to feed off each other. They do things almost similarly, but they have different skill sets. I don't think Ayuk is as good as a ball carrier as Debo. But I think that Ayuk is a better deep threat than Debo. So I think they perfectly mesh with each other. And I'm going to say they're just as important as each other.
Okay, that's a good answer. And I think Cynthia in our comments agrees with you too. That's a fair take. So Vincent Saglibeni, I hope I said that right. I'm sorry, Vinny. He asked, do the 49ers need to add more linebacker depth next season? That's a really good question too. Right. So we saw the departure of Quan Alexander. We know Greenlaw is going to be here. We know Fred's about to be here. That deal's getting done. Aziz Al-Shair, Bennigan Foles. I think that's his name. Yeah. Yes, they have.
He's been hurt.
Yeah, they have to. I think they definitely have to.
Yeah, at some places. I do like Al-Shair. Zachoa, I think that's how you pronounce it. I apologize if I'm butchering it. I can't remember off the top of my head. He's very good on special teams, so I would keep him. In terms of like strictly for the linebackers, yeah, you could probably upgrade the depth a little bit just in case. Yeah. Because if you're running out there with Aziz Al-Shair and Zachoa as your linebackers in case of emergency, like that's not.
He's a special teams guy, and that's the thing, right? So I think, and then even when we had Quan, we had Warner, we had Greenlaw, and Greenlaw wasn't even getting on the field because of base defenses and things like that. Mm-hmm. So I think that you should have that same sort of depth going into next year, where we have a guy that's like, man, he needs to really get on the field. Unfortunately, it's just because we have too many other guys. All right.
Yeah, that's good. Was that the last one, or we got one more?
We got one more. Life 49ers for life on Twitter. He asked, what does our defensive backfield look like next year? So you just listed Jaquiski Tart. You just listed K1 Williams. You just listed Richard Sherman as free agents. Jimmy Ward's going to be back here next year. And then from there, we have a hodgepodge of we did the free agents and we didn't even mention Jason Verrett.
Oh, no. Hey, is he on this list? Oh, no.
Yes.
He is. Bring back Verrett.
Yes.
My 4 are actually going to be 6. I bring back Verrett too, please.
All right. So what does the defensive backfield look like going into next year? So I'll give you the benefit of the doubt. Jimmy Ward is going to be out there depending on where they want to move him. T. Moore is on this team next year because his contract is there. Okay. Outside of that, make your predictions on where everything else lands as far as nickel corner and the other 2 corners.
Mosley.
Yep. I mean, he's a restricted free agent, so he'll definitely be back.
Verrett.
You hope he's going to be back.
K1,
I hope is going to be back as well, but he is a little bit older and has had injury issues.
Yeah, but I think his value is still there, especially if they can get him a little cheaper.
Okay.
Jimmy Ward.
Yep.
And a safety that's not on the team. I think they're going to address the other free agents, the other safety via free agency or the draft. I don't think Tart's going to come back. I don't think Moore is just. I like Moore, but he's just too inconsistent for me.
That's the word.
He shows bright spots, but they're too few and far between for me to really trust him. I don't want to say this in a negative way, but he's probably the Nick Mullins of the defense where in short can I finish?
Go.
In short spurts, he's fine. He's good enough. Like Mullins showed in short spurts, he can be good.
Mm-hmm.
But if you see him too much, he's going to get exposed. He's going to get exposed. So I think the other, and that's not a knock on Moore. That's not a knock on Mullins. This is kind of the comparison that I used in this case. I think the other safety is going to be addressed in free agency or the draft.
Okay, that's fair. Those are all the questions that we had. Thank you guys for submitting them on Twitter. We just wanted to make sure we did at least a segment like this. Felt like it was the right time to ask these sort of questions because everybody's kind of dealing with this loss in different ways. Some people have completely just flipped the script to the draft. Some people are holding out hope for the playoffs. But yeah, but no matter where you lie, there's still all these questions no matter what happens, playoffs or not. So, I mean, these were some great questions. You guys always want to know all the pertinent information and stuff like that. So we appreciate you guys sending in the actual questions that matter.
Yeah, we really appreciate it. We might actually turn it over to Twitter, period. Just because it's a little easier on us, so we don't have to follow through on the whatchamacall, what's the little comment thing on the side? We don't have to track it. If you listen, and if you don't have a Twitter, I guess this is a good time to advertise this. If you don't have a Twitter, that obviously we're not going to say get a Twitter. We have an email address as well. It's sprint right option podcast@gmail.com. If you have a question you're itching to get off, send it to the email. I'll check it consistently if there are questions, and I'll make sure those questions get addressed as well. But we might just start taking questions via Twitter. Is that it? Do you have any last thoughts, or can we start signing off? Because I have a few things I want to say in the sign off.
Yeah, no, we're good, man. Just make sure that whatever debate that you find yourself in this week, just make sure you check out that context and that nuance, man. Make sure you're looking at everything. Don't get wrapped up in what you want to be right. Try to just look at everything black and white and just make sense of it that way.
Yeah, that's probably the best way to say it, man. Don't judge this team too hard, because a lot of the issues aren't really the team's fault. It's not the players' fault or anything like that. Where do I want to start? I'm going to start here. I meant to say this on Friday, and if I may, Jason, get a little serious just for one hot second. I know I didn't.
No, go for it.
You. So as you may know, COVID is coming back with a vengeance. COVID Part 3. And a lot of states are hitting that stay-at-home order. And I know, as somebody who stays at home, I'm not going home for Christmas. As somebody who stays at home a lot, takes a hit on the mental health. I just want to reach out, and Jason, I'm assuming you're going to have the same ideas I do. Man, if you need somebody to talk to, my DMs are open.
Yeah, man.
It is a very mentally exhausting time, and I had to make the tough decision of not going out for Christmas to see my family. It'll be the first time in 28 years that I do not see my family on Christmas Day. And in case you want to do the math, I'm 28 years old, so this will be the first time. So listen, if you feel the need to have somebody to talk to, because I've been there, everybody's been there, my DMs are open. Reach out to me, and I will be there. Obviously how serious it is, I will adjust what I'm going to say and all that. There's resources out there that if you do need help, reach out and call them. But if it's not, super serious, or you just need somebody to talk to, my direct messages are open, especially this time of year with the holidays and the importance of family we put on it. So just please reach out to us, and then we will be there to talk to.
Absolutely. Couldn't have said it any better, man. If you guys want to talk football, get your mind away from it, cool. If you guys want to talk about some other stuff, I'll be glad to be an ear, and that's all we want to be at this point.
And speaking of Christmas, Jason, I feel this is a good time to bring this up.
Yep.
Christmas falls on a Friday this year, and Jason and I will be taking Christmas off. There will be no show on Friday, but we got good news. We're going to go long on Wednesday. And so we fully understand. We don't expect you to sit in front of your computer watching us for an hour and a half, 2 hours.
Break it up.
So in my head, the best way to indulge in next week's episode would be via the podcast. We will make a standpoint in the episode and say, listen, we are breaking the episode off. This is where we're going to go into the breakdown of, what would that be, the Arizona game. So we listen to the first half. We'll be talking about the Cowboy game that happens on Sunday, or that happened on Sunday. The second half of the show will be an Arizona Cardinals preview. So definitely, we will say we are done breaking down the Cowboys game. This is where we're going to get into the Cardinals game. If you want to take a break from the podcast, listen to us Friday, go right ahead. This is the spot. So we don't fully expect you guys to sit and listen to us talk for 2 hours. Break it up if you want. If you do want to come watch the live show for 2 hours, we'll be here, and maybe we'll have it Christmas themed. I don't know, man. The Cowboys preview will be Friday as per normal. That's when we're going to talk all things Dallas Cowboys. But just so you know, next Friday, the Christmas episode, there is none. I might do something personally that if you guys want to talk football with me, I might open up a Zoom call. I might open up a StreamYard call and have people join in, and we could talk 49ers if you want to get your itch. Because as I said, I will be in this room on Christmas Day. So if you want to talk football with me on Friday, on Christmas Day, if you have nothing better to do, I'll drop a Zoom link and you guys can request it from me on DMs. In terms of the show, though, we're going 2 hours on Wednesday, or hour and a half, 2 hours, whatever we decide. And then Friday, there's going to be no show.
Perfect. Yeah. So, yes, guys, thank you guys for tuning in as usual. We're always humbled by the support online when you guys have the inside jokes with us. Like that really means so much, honestly. So it just shows that you guys are paying attention. And I can't believe that there's actually people out there that enjoy listening to you and I speak. It's crazy, Andrew.
Oh, I tell Jason, I told you last night, the fact that anytime Jameis Winston gets into a football game and I get tweets sent to me telling me about it, that's something I never expected with this. I honestly never expected us to have inside jokes and, consistent fans and all that. But man, it's really cool to see, and maybe that's part of what we'll do on our Wednesday show is really talk about how much you guys mean to us since it's the holidays and all that stuff.
Or maybe we can do like a whole year thing, right? Because it's the end of the year, probably be like one of the last shows of the year. But we'll talk about that. Look, we'll come up with something, guys. We got it. We just wanted to let you guys know how we're going to be doing things for the next week, and we're not going to leave you guys hanging. Especially no matter what's going on with the 49ers, we're going to be on top of it. So that's what we want to say.
And then I guess too, one last thing for the off season, we already have off season plans. What we're going to talk about, the idea we're kind of working on. I think it's something you guys will enjoy. We'll try to have as much fan input as we can. Obviously, the podcast is going to have less to talk about during the off season because there's no games to break down. But we have a few plans, and I have a plan too for an end of season show as well. And we're really going to try and get as much fan participation as we can. So that's going to do it for this edition of the Sprint Right Option podcast. Give us a follow on Twitter. I don't know why my ad's not there. I must have done something else. I don't know what I did, but my ad on Twitter is at Pasquini Andrew. Jason Aponte 2103 is Jason's Twitter name at thingy that you can retweet again on. I don't know. The Sprint Right Pod is the podcast name on Twitter. Go give that a follow. Do I have anything else I have to plug? Oh yeah. We're on Spotify and Apple Podcasts now. Just look up Sprint Right Option Podcast there. Download us, subscribe to us there. We really appreciate it. I really like looking at the numbers go up. So if we get those numbers up, it'll make me happy. So beautiful. Jason, any last thoughts before we sign off?
Nope. Thank you guys, as always for tuning in, subscribe everywhere, and we'll talk to you guys we'll talk to you guys Friday. And, as always, let's go Niners.
Go Niners.